I called you Ike, but what do you call other people call you? Oh, you're muted.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Ike will, Ike will work. That's or Isaac. It's okay.
Okay.
So,
All right. So the YouTube stream is working. Test, test, test.
Comes Kim.
Shirley.
I see Shirley.
Oh, I see the bottom of her head.
Her chin.
It's nice to see Cliff. It's been a while. You're muted, but you're waving nicely.
You got 4 people muted. Ike, what town are you in Texas?
Cleburne.
Cleburne.
No, Cleburne. Cleburne.
Cleburne.
Yeah, Cleburne, Texas. 30 miles south of Fort Worth.
Okie doke.
Okay. Yeah, my cousin lives in McKinney, which is just outside of Dallas.
Yeah, it's McKinney is about 70 miles northeast of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's been there for years. He grew up in Auburn, New York, but for work, he went to Texas and then just stayed there.
Don't like snow.
Exactly. He doesn't.
But he got it this year.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, we got that and that freeze to the tune of $2,500 to replace the hot water lines in the house.
Oh, no. Oh.
We usually have to replace the cold water lines that froze. The hot water lines usually keep running because they're hot.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know why, but that's what went, the hot water, and but everything was turned off. We weren't at the house. We left it on a drip, and we were out of the house for a week because we didn't have power. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So
An old physical chemistry trick question. Which will freeze quicker, hot water or cold water?
well,
I guess you assume that it starts with the hot water cooled down to the same temperature as cold water. And the trick answer was the hot water because it's got less mineral stuff in it.
mm-hmm,
So that's maybe what happened.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then when they found it, the leak was in a place that was hard to get to. So they decided it was easier to reroute the hot water line than to try to rip it all out and then do it. So they just rerouted everything.
Right.
Which was, we're satisfied. We're satisfied.
Definitely need hot water.
So
I was going to say, Isaac, did your insurance pay for it?
Not yet.
Oh, no.
What they're doing is they're looking at the emergency management thing, disaster.
FEMA.
And so,
FEMA?
so we put in for that, but to put in for that, you have to put in this home loan thing. And you have to wait for them to deny you. And then
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
so I don't know if we're going to get paid or not. Some stuff gets to the point. It's like being a veteran going to the VA. Sometimes you just gonna say, "Hey, I'm just gonna leave this alone for right now. I'll hurry up and wait.
Yep.
I've done the things that I need to do, and I'm not gonna raise my blood pressure one iota about it."
Yep. Oh, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. So I think then that we can formally start the meeting, I think. Are you all set, Steve?
Yep.
All right, so welcome to Apple Cider, our May meeting. And hopefully everybody's got sunshine.
Yes.
Finally looks like we're gonna have a good week of sunshine every day and warmth.
Yes.
And
75. Hooray.
finally can get out there and
Whoa.
do yard work and do some stuff without thinking, oh my God, it's gonna rain.
That's not
Okay.
good. I like these 50s. The 50s were nice. I can sit outside and breathe. And once it gets warm, it's going to get humid. And I don't have air conditioning yet. And it's going to be miserable breathing.
I think we gotta ways before we get the humidity.
Got a quick question for Steve.
Yep.
On the YouTube stream so far, I'm seeing the CIDER homepage. I know there's a delay. Does that sound okay? I'm getting sound.
Yeah, I got to switch windows. I'm trying to get the rest of the stuff set up to.
Yeah, fine. Okay. I just, you know me, I'm the sound monitor for YouTube.
That's good though, Charlie. We need
Yep.
somebody to do that.
Well, it's just
All right, so I
my
guess
level.
we'll start off with Steve with news of the day, or do you want to do Q&A? Whichever
Well,
you want to start with.
The biggest news is going to be the stuff that the new computers we're going to be talking about.
All right, well then start with Q&A then, and then we'll just do news. We'll go right into Apple products and everything. And all the new
Yep.
stuff that everybody's going to buy, right?
Yep.
All right, take it
So
away.
does anyone have any questions before we
Yeah, I
as
got
we
a
start?
question. If you block somebody on your phone, can they, when they call you, does their call go straight to, your voicemail or messages, or does it just stop right there?
I'm not sure. Let's check with Apple. So if you block unknown callers, or just blocked callers, period, right? Not
You want me to turn everything on?
because there's two ways to block something. You can block a specific contact, and you can block a number, and you can block all unknown.
Well, I'm worried thinking about a known number, and you block that.
Yeah, let's see. There's an Apple Tech note. This is how you block it.
I know you can block it on your phone, just say block
Yeah.
the number.
What happens when you block it is going to be the question.
Yep.
Here's what happens when you block a number. All right, here's a Business Insider had an article on it. No, I don't want to subscribe to Business Insider. And I have to turn my ad blocker off. Okay, the ad blocker is off, and it's still saying my ad blocker is on. So the code that they're using is not knowing that I blocked it, that I stopped blocking it. So blocked numbers will not be delivered to your phone. I'm sorry, blocked text messages don't get delivered at all. Let's see. When you block a number, it prevents them from contacting you.
Enjoy.
Well, what if you want to block unknown callers? Like,
That's another setting. There's a specific setting to block unknown callers. And then if someone is not in your address book, your phone doesn't even ring.
Right.
And so a lot of people are doing that because there's so many spam calls.
Right.
so how do you do it? Because I haven't done it
You
yet.
go into your settings and turn on block unknown callers.
Oh, it does have a block thing. Okay.
The person whose number you've blocked won't receive any clue. All right, here it is. So for phone calls, this caller is sent straight to voicemail.
Okay.
but it won't show up in your regular voicemail. There's a special voicemail tab called blocked messages.
Okay, it goes to a special place. Okay.
Yeah, so you can find those blocked voicemails to see if you need to unblock that person or not. But if it's someone that is just pestering and annoying you, then you block them, and they don't see anything that they're blocked. That just goes straight to voicemail.
Okay.
See,
Alrighty.
that's good. They would have no idea that they're actually being blocked from your number.
Right. That's been a TV meme for a while. That if the phone rings a couple of times and then you get voicemail, that means the person saw it and declined to answer. Because you either get a call waiting signal, or you see who's on your phone and you hit ignore, and so the other end will hear it ring a few times before it stops ringing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I never I never do that, like ignore the call, because I know that the person will know that I'm there, and I so that's why I always try to turn the ringer off.
Yeah, if you let it ring, then they just hear ring voicemail. But they can assume that you saw it and didn't want to answer.
Oh,
but most of the
landline?
time, it's computers are calling, and when you answer the phone, they forward your call to to another computer that says, "Hi, this is whoever, I'm going to talk about your car insurance," or an actual person, and so sometimes you can see that or hear that slight delay between when you answer and there's dead air, and then sometimes you hear a click, and then the other end will start talking because they have already gotten that message that you are on the phone. So then it goes to talk to that person.
I know quite a few people who talk out the other end.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm resistant.
I sometimes get a call that says silenced call. My phone doesn't ring. What is that all about? I don't remember doing anything special.
That's another feature for unknown callers. There's an option called silence unknown callers. So the phone will still ring and show you the person calling, but you won't hear the ring. And so that's different from block unknown callers.
It's in the settings.
Yeah, in the settings app, probably under phone. Let's see if I can find it on my phone real quick. Yeah, in the settings under phone, you have an option to silence unknown callers. You can choose who you want to block. Excuse me. You can have texts automatically respond with, you can have a phone call automatically respond with a text. One of the problems is if you have a business line or you receive business calls on your phone, then you can't block unknown callers, because that pretty much is all of your people is unknown callers.
Right. Thank you.
Hey, Steve, your camera's a little blurry.
Does
it need to be cleaned or
there's
what?
a bright sun behind me, and it's causing a distraction. I'm trying to block, and it's the wrong camera activated, and when I switch to the other camera, it doesn't like it.
The funny thing is, it looks like the bright sun is coming from the hallway at East High.
Yeah, that's an interesting illusion.
Yeah. If I do it that way, then it kind of blocks it. Yeah, Zoom.
One thing about the SE is that it can have two different phone numbers to it. A business line. So you have to monitor, I suppose, a silence call, whether it's your business line or your personal line.
Yeah, several of the later generation phones have a physical SIM and an eSIM, so you can have two different phone numbers on it. And then there's even a model that had two actual SIM slots, so you could theoretically have three phone numbers. And what that's often used for is business travelers who go to other countries. You will put another SIM for that country in the other slot, so you can still answer your own calls to your regular number, but then you get a number in a local number for that country when you're in that country.
Do you have to pay for two different plans?
Generally, yeah. You buy but everywhere else in the world, phone plans are dirt cheap. Now you get a 100-minute card for $20 or something like that.
Do they have to be the same company?
No, because the rest of the world doesn't have our companies.
I mean, the two lines that you. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, every country has their own carriers. Sometimes there'll be an overlap. Well, Deutsche Telekom became T-Mobile, so they might still be T-Mobile in Germany. But often that's a lot cheaper than getting an international plan on your AT&T or Verizon number. We used to have a lot of problems when we went to Canada, where Bell Rogers would pick up the call, and at the time we had Sprint, and Sprint and Rogers were fighting, and so none of our calls would go through, because basically what happens is Rogers routes the call for you, sends the bill to Sprint, and then Sprint sends the bill to you, and you pay it. You pay to Sprint, and Sprint pays to Rogers. Well, apparently Sprint wasn't paying Rogers, and so Rogers just stopped carrying any Sprint phone calls. It's supposed to be a handshake back and forth that everyone just carries everyone else's calls, so you don't have to worry about it. In fact, some of you might remember the earlier days of cell phone calls, where you call Verizon to Verizon, and it costs less than calling Verizon to AT&T. If you stayed inside the same carrier, it would cost less. And that was back in the old pay-by-the-minute days. Nowadays, virtually every cell phone plan has unlimited minutes because you're paying for data now. So you pay for every megabyte of data that you download from the web. And phone calls are almost an afterthought now, because most people don't use their phones for actual phone calls.
What about
All right.
With the phone, that time I was trying to make it silent, and you all told me all the ways to do it, and I turned the switch off, and I got do not disturb. I tried to turn it back on because I needed to get a call, and I forgot the third way I turned it off. What's the other way? Do not disturb I turned off. I turned the switch back on, but there's a third way.
The actual volume buttons.
No, because that no, because the volume's always on. There was something else I did. Anybody?
Well, you can block unknown callers. You can silence unknown callers. That's a different setting, yeah. I never got gotta get something to drink. Hang on just a minute. Talk amongst yourselves, or Shirley can answer a question.
Yeah, right. I can answer a question.
Sure you can.
I'm going to take this opportunity, since I was going to do it sometime during the meeting. I am in the market for a lovingly used iPad Air or Pro. So if anybody was thinking of updating to one of the new ones and wanted to get rid of an old one, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat, and you can just email me, and I'll wait a week or two and see if I get any responses. So I will do that now. Slowly.
Slowly I turned.
There you go.
All right. I guess if there's no more questions when he comes back, I guess he can start with the news and do all the Apple products and stuff. If anybody,
I got another question.
You do? Okay, he's back.
The 14 was it 5, the upgrade, now 14.5.1. Is it safe to upgrade to that now for your phone?
Alrighty, so let me find this window.
So you're talking iOS then?
Yeah.
14 to 14.1?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you know,
14.5 is out now. And actually,
14.5
14.5.1, they had to fix
and
a 0 day
12.1.
someone found in 14.5.
Yeah, so is it safe to upgrade to that one now?
Usually, the 0.1 update fixes the issues that that have been discovered.
Okay.
I discovered that Big Sur is causing havoc with my musical instruments. They're not handshaking properly. It'll find a bunch of MIDI connections and then it'll lose them and then it'll find it again and it just goes back and forth until sometimes the system crashes.
Yeah, we're seeing musical instruments and are sort of one of the fragile devices every time there's a system upgrade. So all of the big programs always warn you about don't upgrade until we certify our program. And then Big Sur, well, it's even starting with Catalina with the 64-bit was an issue where you had to make sure everything you had was updated.
I see they got another update that's come out too.
Yeah, usually what you see when the bigger releases come out, we always talk about wait for the first patch. So the 14, when iOS 14 came out, wait for the 14.01 patch. Well, now the 0.5 came out, and they did the 5.1 patch just to make sure it was the fix that the 0 day bug that they had.
Good question here, Rick. Was that to do with GarageBand or something else with instruments?
I was having difficulties with Logic and some of my hardware devices. The drivers were apparently not syncing properly.
Apple's Logic and Apple's own programs are usually much better than that. They're often they've already got those bugs worked out with the new OS, their own OS with their own program.
Do they have a bug development division there?
Yeah, they do. Unfortunately.
Because there's a lot of grousing about Big Sur, which I went to after it was, quote, safe to do it because it had been around a little while. I just had a problem with my swell new Epson printer in the course of it. I went to them to reinstall the software, and there was a little message about, well, Big Sur is a little weird right now, so click on this, Mac OS 11X down here.
Well, yeah, Big Sur was a major rewrite for Apple Silicon. Yeah, and drivers. Well, and one of the big things they've done is they're limiting what's called kernel extensions, so that the programs that are written directly to access the lowest level of the Mac kernel are not allowed to do that anymore, because that's how bad programs can change deep things on your operating system. So things like printer drivers are now needing to be rewritten so they don't need to have kernel access, but they can still be printed from any application. So yeah, as long as you use Apple apps and Apple peripherals, there's no problem in upgrading to Apple's newest OS. It's for everyone else that doesn't do that, there's a problem.
One of the weirdnesses I was seeing was I would have two audio devices and it would switch between them. And it would go back and forth and back and forth, and I couldn't make up its mind. And I found that Apple actually had a tech note on it, and they said, yeah, we know it's broken and we're going to fix it.
Well, at least they know. You're not the first.
Or the last.
Whether that's whether that's a good thing or a last thing is a bad thing is always the question.
Oh, I have another phone question.
Okay.
One day, my phone, of course, the day that I had to use it to type a screenplay, you know, that little spinny gray thing it does when it's like pausing and waiting, gray or white, that little spinning thing, it like stuck on that like for hours. And I'm like, why? And I turned it off, I turned it on, I plugged it in, I unplugged it, I tried to do everything, I couldn't, and it didn't. And then I woke up the next day and it was okay. Like, is that a problem, or was it doing some kind of
Yeah,
thing for
something went wrong somewhere. You might want to check if you have auto update turned on and how much free disk space you have. There's a problem we've seen if you're close to full. You know, say the update is needs 6 gigs and you have 6.5 gigs free. That's not really enough free, and we see a lot of phones will get stuck in a boot loop like that, trying to install the update when they can't. And so what we've been telling a lot of people is if you typically run your phone close to full, turn auto update off on the phone and do manual updates from the computer, because it uses less disk space on the phone to do an update from your computer. So it doesn't have to have the updater on the phone and free disk space to install the update at the same time.
Hey, Kim, I have a suggestion. Since you've had really bad luck with your phones, maybe you should go back to a flip phone.
Oh, the flip phone is so horrible. I mean, you know, when I had track phone flip phones, they were just normal phones, but the consumer cellular ones, they're always screwed up. They're all crap. They're just crap. Like my phone, sometimes it'll show you like a missed call, the number, sometimes it won't. So people call you, they think, oh, she sees the number. No, I don't see the number. Then one day, all of a sudden, it deleted my whole call log. Like no calls were there at all for a couple of weeks. Then all of a sudden, they started coming back again. Sometimes I try to turn the ringer off, and then it rings. Then I try to turn the ringer on, and it doesn't ring. I mean, it's just like it has a mind of its own. I never know who's calling or if I got the call or the message or whatever, and they're just horrible. You can't see it when it's closed. You can't see the number or the time or anything. You got to open it up, so you can't see who's calling. It's ugh. And texting is a pain in the butt, like because you got to press all the buttons. Flip phone is like the most horrible universe.
I don't know.
My iPhone's been good. It's just that one freezing thing. The battery's draining really quickly now, which is worrying me. But it also charges really quickly, but it's draining really quickly. So I bought an SE with the coupon, so I will have that in case this one dies. But other than that, I mean, this one's always worked. Even though it's a 6S, it's worked great for me. It still does.
I don't know if this is
Probably need
relevant.
a new battery. If it's a 6S, if the battery is draining real quick, and you can check the health of the battery in the settings. It has the battery health, and if you're below 80%, that's probably when you should get a new battery. And I know Steve can do those.
Now, what's your new batteries?
It's about $60 installed, 65, I think.
It's 90%.
Ooh.
So there's another setting that will show you what apps have been using the battery. That's another thing too. Well, and after an OS upgrade, it's common for the battery to drain fast for a few days as it re-indexes the phone and does all the other things that are part of that upgrade.
Where do you check that? What's using the battery?
In the battery setting. it will show you the last 10 days of use or the last 24 hours of use. So on mine, Maps is the highest because that's what I mostly use my phone for.
Can you screen share that, Steve, or not conveniently?
89% for the game that I've been playing a
hold my
lot
phone
lately.
up in front of the camera.
What game is that?
Coloring. One of the skills games.
So when you use that game, do you notice that the battery goes down very quickly compared to when you don't use that game?
I would say I've only started playing the game again like in the last couple of weeks, and I think the battery was draining quickly even before that. So I don't, not really, because if I just plug it in, I'm so used to just plugging it in. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can try and pay attention.
All right, so there's the battery setting. So that's where you find the battery health option. Oh, and see, that doesn't go to YouTube. That's the part of the problem. I can't screen share in Zoom and have it show up on YouTube.
Really?
Because it's a different window and it doesn't like that. I have to stop sharing and I'll turn the Safari.
I just
Safari window
looked at
on.
my battery and I'm only at 66%.
Is
Well,
that
$60?
$60
$60 is too much money to spend on a phone that cost me $100 a year ago.
Yeah. If you swipe up on the battery screen, it will show you below this window here what programs are using the battery the most. Sometimes it's a program that's crashed, and we call that a runaway program. It's just draining the battery.
Shirley, I want to make a comment about your 60% or whatever you had there. Is that because the question then is, and are you looking at an iPhone while you're seeing that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not familiar with those. The closest I come to that is looking at battery on my iPad. But
on the phone, it says battery health. Is what I found it under.
Yeah, so there's two settings. There's the current charge percentage, and then there's the full charge capacity. And I think which button was that?
And so the charge percentage would be that percentage of the nowadays full charge capacity,
right,
not the original design capacity, right?
Right. So your current charge is from 0 to 100%, and there's the window I wanted. So your current charge is 0 to 100%, but your battery health shows you the maximum capacity. So if your battery was, say, 10 hours, to make the math easy, if you're at 60% battery health, now 100% charge is 6 hours, because it's 60% of the original. And so that's what happens when the batteries age. And we also see that the discharge curve gets sharper. So it may say 30% and be dead in 10 minutes because the discharge at the bottom end is faster than it was when the battery was new.
So basically, I need a new battery.
Or leave it plugged in.
How long does yours last?
It seemed to be like it was dying quicker than it used to be. And just the other day it went and it said, oh, there's 14% battery left. And I went to go take a picture and all of a sudden it died. Yeah. So I was like, what happened? I thought I had more time. So it seems to be doing that more, which means, probably need a new battery.
It seems like when something's getting low like that, when it gets down to like that under 20, it'll go really quickly. Like you're okay, and then once it gets down under 20, it's like poof, gone. So it doesn't last long once it gets older.
Right. So
is there a Steve, is there a time your battery should last ideally before it starts going?
No, because it depends on how much you use it. If you never charge it, it will last forever. If you charge it every day, it might last a year, maybe two. If you charge it twice a day, it may not last that long.
So you're saying is that if you charge it, it goes faster. So if you don't charge your battery up every day, you're not supposed to do that?
If you don't charge your battery and leave it fully charged and plugged in all the time, the battery's never used, and so the battery never wears out.
Oh, I see. So if you use it and it's plugged in, then you're not using the battery.
Right.
And
But
if
if
you
you're-
weren't
But that makes it
for a
less
while-
useful.
Right. But once you take it off the battery and say you're going to use it to go places, then it's going to use the battery, and you come back, you plug it back in.
Right.
And at night, when you're sleeping, you should turn it off then, right?
Well,
Or plug it in.
People plug it in to charge, and then leave it plugged in overnight. The Apple software doesn't let it drain. I'm sorry, doesn't overcharge it. So if you use an Apple charger with the Apple cable especially, then it won't overcharge. There's been some problems with third-party chargers that charge it and just keep charging it until the battery explodes, which is bad.
Steve? Steve?
Yeah?
Steve, didn't Apple say that the good thing with the phone or the iPad is to about once a month let it run down all the way?
Yeah, there's kind of a catch-22 between if you use it too much, it wears out. If you don't use it enough, it forgets how to work. So if you generally have it plugged in most of the time, every month or so, it's not a bad idea to drain it completely and let it charge completely, just to keep the battery chemistry fresh. But
completely all the way to 0, not just 1, but all the way.
Well, and yeah, until you get that final battery warning. I think you get a warning at 10%, a warning at 5%, and then it really starts to go nuts.
But you can say the same thing even with rechargeable batteries, correct?
Yeah.
The rechargeable batteries, they say just let them run all the way down to 0, and then.
Well, and there's also a difference in the type of battery. The lithium-ion batteries that we're using now don't have as big of memory effect as the previous nickel metal hydride. Let me turn this window back on. Apple has a website on maximizing your battery performance, and don't get it too hot or too cold. Basically, if you're too hot or too cold, the battery is too. Sometimes, so when you plug in your device to charge it, it will heat up as it's charging. You're adding energy to the battery, and there are some cases that don't dissipate that heat very well. So then your battery can get too hot. If you know you're not going to use it for a long time, months, drop it to about 50% charge, and then power it down. And so you don't want to charge. You don't want to store it fully charged. You don't want to charge it empty either. And so this maximized battery life has options. One of the neat things that they do, and I'm trying to see if they have it listed here, is they will watch. The system watches how much battery you use and how you typically charge your phone. And I don't see it here. And so what it will do is it will say when you're at night, when you charge it, it will stop at 80% and recognize that you get up at 9 o'clock every morning. So it will have it up to 100 by 9 o'clock, so that it doesn't keep it fully charged all the time.
Steve?
Yep.
When I on my MacBook on Big Sur, it had that feature, and I disabled it because of my own erratic use hours. But before that all developed, it used to be, and I especially noticed this after we began to use Zoom this past year, even with all the apps in the dock closed, overnight it would drain about maybe 10% or something like that. And but since then, and since I disabled that 80% feature thing, now it drains overnight with the power off. Only, like 3% or something like that. So I don't know, what's using what and when.
There's another setting in Energy Saver called Power Nap, where it doesn't, when it's asleep at night, it will wake up a little bit every now and then, so it can check for email, it can check for calendar updates, it can back up your computer.
But am I correct that that's only when it's plugged into a power?
You can also set it to do the same thing when it's on battery.
Okay.
But it is primarily only for power.
Yeah. While I'm hogging time here, also on the iPhone, you showed that battery health swipe right or tap right for it.
Yeah.
In battery in the settings on the iPad,
it's different.
Is there? Yeah. Okay. So that's not there then, right?
No, the iPad battery health doesn't show you the usages like the iPhone does.
It shows usages, but it doesn't have a battery health thing of like design capacity versus current maximum capacity, yada yada. I end up having to use coconut battery for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had that backwards. Yeah, it's a little annoying they didn't add it to the iPad as well. One of the things on the iPad is, since the battery is so physically bigger, it lasts it lasts longer because it doesn't discharge and charge as fast. Unless you're really using a lot of apps a lot of the time.
So is it good then? Like, I take my iPad and I make sure it's charged 100% and then I turn it off. So it's already charged and then it's off, so it's not getting anything. But again, the battery should be fine then, right?
How long do you leave it off? If it's going to be off for a few weeks, then leave it at 50%.
I mean, from at night, I turn it off till the next day when I wake up. I turn it back on. So is that good, or just keep it charged?
Fine. So for the iPad, if you want to see your battery health, there are third-party apps, Coconut Battery that Charlie mentioned, and another one called iMazing that will show you that health. You can also have Apple check. There's a free test that they can run that will show the battery health on your device. Coconut Battery also tells you a lot of neat things about your battery too. Excuse me. There's a lot of stuff in there's a chip. There's a chip that controls the battery that you can sort of keep an eye on how your battery is draining and charging.
And you can see that in Coconut Battery?
Yeah. I think it only works when you have your iDevice plugged in to the computer and Coconut Battery running.
Correct. But it's not a premium feature you have to pay for?
I don't believe so.
Because they've been sneaking those into that app. They were, you want to see this?
Yeah. Let's see what the plus features are. Yeah, it works over Wi-Fi. Oh, you get a lifetime analyzer to see how your battery has worked over its entire life, not just since the last charge. So they do give you a few extra options for $10, which isn't bad.
Huh.
So what's the advanced viewer versus the standard viewer? More detail. Well, yeah, more details about everything. So everyone is starting to add either a plus feature. So this is Word Plus. A lot of the streaming channels have the plus sign as their plus stuff of extra things they're doing. So we got to have plus. It used to be Pro, and now it's Plus. In cat food. Yeah, huh? For people that have pets, that cat food ad just popped up. The entire pet food industry has been in a shake-up because COVID shutdowns, most of the pet food brands are owned by Purina and made in a single factory, and that factory was shut down for months, and so it's been hard to find pet food.
Just get a snake and then feed him mice.
Yeah.
Well, I found that too, is when I buy cat food, canned cat food, that the shelves are almost bare for cat food. You kind of don't have as much variety or as much cans on the shelf, which is just crazy, you know? So you're kind of...
Question from Cliff. How did Charlie send me a message here on the screen?
In the chat window, you can chat with other users.
Yeah, you can pick an individual, Cliff. It defaults to everyone, but you can pick an individual.
In the to line, you can pick which person you want to send a message to, rather than everyone.
Well, am I still on here?
Yep.
I'll tell you guys, the problems with the guy, crazy as I am, the noise in the background, Charlie, you heard was my ham radio, because it turns out one of the nets that I usually call into starts at 7 o'clock, and so did this group start at 7. So I'm watching the TV, meanwhile reaching my hand over here. As you can see, I got my mic in my hand.
Yes, I saw that. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, and on top of that, can you hear the noise like a machine gun? That's chopping up the tree next door. It's right outside of my window. They got one of these grinding machines. That's
yeah, we hear it. Maybe you should mute your microphone when you're not talking to anyone.
That's what he did, Rick, when I asked him to do that because of the ham stuff. So we're not picking on you, Cliff. It's just your life is too exciting.
It's terrible. Well, I have trouble with my ham, so I'm not really talking with anybody because nobody's hearing me. I got a problem. Anybody want to help me on a ham radio problem?
Turn it off and turn it on again.
Yeah, call Soundbites. Oh no, Dave's not going to be here. Dave on Soundbites is big into hams.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And we've had people complain that some people are calling about ham questions, and because a lot of ham stuff is done on the computer now, and so that we're starting to answer some ham stuff too.
Richard, what's your last name? I remember you very well, but I can't think of what your last name is. You want to reveal it?
Harrison.
That sounds about right. Cliff Milner. I'm way back.
There's been a meme going around about Zoom meetings are just modern day seances. Elizabeth, are you there? Yeah. Can you hear us? You're on mute. Can you hear? We can see you, but can you hear us?
I also do a Zoom on genealogy. If anybody's interested in that, there's an excellent one. It's you get into it via the Arundecoit Library.
Nice.
Wow.
Do they have genealogy software at that library? My friend said he used it in Webster. Do they have it there too?
I didn't quite understand the question.
My friend told me that the Webster Library had genealogy software for people to use. Do they have that there too at other libraries?
Yes, they do.
I know several of the libraries will use Ancestry.com that you can fill out and use on their computer because they're paying for the license.
I know Fairport does that.
Brighton as well.
I think that goes through Morrow County has
probably.
They have a
All right. Any more questions out there, or should we have Steve start on the new Apple projects? It's almost 8 o'clock.
How do you do that updating your iPhone from the computer?
Plug it into the computer, go into the iTunes app, and choose Update.
Update iPhone?
Yep.
Go ahead.
It'll probably tell you if there's an update. just when you launch iTunes.
Okay. My computer's been freezing a lot lately, and like a lot. Not once in a while. Like every time I use it, a couple hours in, it starts freezing, and I got to shut it off. And is that bad?
It might be overheating. It could also be that your hard drive is starting to fail.
Yeah, it depends on why it's crashing, and someone would have to run diagnostics on it to know that.
This
Someone
raises Steve's perennial question: are you backing up to like an external hard drive or anything?
Well, I'm not really using it for like any new information right now because it's too far away from me to type on it, and my portable keyboards are shot. So there's not really anything new to back up right
Yeah,
now.
that's one of the things that Jackie has been asking in the store. That we ask people if they have a backup, and they always say yeah, but we find out that they don't know what that means, and they don't have a backup, but they always say yeah. So I said, would you cry if you lost everything on this phone? And the answer is almost always yes. Well, then let's make sure you have a backup for it. And this is the iTunes screen. Actually, this one is in Catalina and later. It doesn't show up in the music app. It shows up right on the desktop. But you see your phone in the sidebar, and you have an option to check for updates. And actually below this window, there's a backup button. So you can back up your phone to your computer too. But that will take up a lot of disk space on your computer, so you have to be careful you don't eat up your computer that way too. We've seen a lot of customers come in and their hard drives are full, and we find hundreds of gigabytes of phone backups from a very long time ago.
Oh, I have plenty of space. How often do you hear me say that?
Yeah.
My computer has plenty of space. My phone does not. I did back up my phone, but now I gotta do. Can you combine Apple IDs once you already have two? Because I don't need to pay for 200 gigabytes on two different phones when they're on both 64.
Not directly, but you can set up an iCloud family and have the two Apple IDs as part of one family, and then share everything between it. So you make your primary ID the family master, and then add the other IDs as family members. And then you can share your purchases, your iCloud storage, your photo albums, things like that. We've seen some interesting arguments both ways. That when so if they allowed you to merge your Apple IDs, what would happen if you wanted to split an Apple ID? How do you decide what apps go with which ID? So it's almost as bad as you're getting married, you merge all your stuff together, you get divorced, and you split all your stuff apart.
Steve, a question I had with going back to that backup your phone on the computer.
Yeah.
Can you find the backup on your computer, or is it invisible?
Yes.
Or is it...
And yes. It's in your library folder, which is normally invisible. But you can use the Go library menu command to get to the library. And let me see where I can find it. It's under application
support.
So you actually
get more than just the latest backup? You can actually go back further?
You get the latest backup of each device. So if you backed up, old phones and iPads, they will all be there.
Okay, but not two iPhone backups.
Not two of the same phone, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's library, application support, mobile sync, and backup. So the library folder is generally invisible, but you can get to it from the Go menu and hold the Option key down to go to library. Or you can go into iTunes, and it will under preferences, under devices, it shows you all the backups you have, and you can delete those backups there as well. And then in Catalina and later, there is a Manage Backups button, because iTunes doesn't do, or the music app doesn't do iPhone syncing anymore. It just does music. That was the one thing with iTunes, is it started out playing music, and then they added syncing an iPod, and they added a music store, and then they added a TV store, and then they added a movie store, and they added an app store, and they added a ringtone store, and so suddenly iTunes is this huge megalithic thing that doesn't do anything well because it tries to do so much. So starting in Catalina, they separated movies and music and podcasts and the app store, so now everything is in its own separate lean apps. So things are different than they used to be, but hopefully it works better now that they're individual programs.
When you said run a diagnostic, you mean something I can do or something I have to take to somebody to do?
You have to take it to somebody to do it.
And how much does that cost?
Depends on where you take it. Our diagnostic is $90 an hour.
And how many hours does it take?
Depends on what's wrong.
Like just to run the diagnostic or to fix it, you mean?
Well, the diagnostic can take hours to run, but it's a flat rate. Some computers, depending on how new it is, you can hold down Command D and get into an internal diagnostics, and that does a very quick diagnostic test. No, just the D key with an Intel processor. Everything's different with the Apple Silicon processors. They couldn't use the same keys. They had to make completely different keys, do the same things that other keys did under Intel. And that can do some very basic testing and see if it finds anything specifically wrong. We often find the basic diagnostics never find anything wrong. And you have to do the more extended diagnostics that only the Apple dealers have.
How old is the computer?
2013.
Is it an iMac?
Yeah.
You can try booting into safe mode and see if it works better, and that will tell you that it's some third-party extension. Oh, safe mode Mac. So hold the Shift key down while you boot the Mac, and then it won't load any third-party extensions, and just run the basic operating system. Should be a tech note here somewhere about that. So there's also safe mode in Windows, and that's what I keep getting. Safe mode Mac.
The other thing is, are you getting any glitches on the video?
I get no glitches until it freezes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you get like different lines and different screwy things on the screen? Because a lot of times with those computers, those older ones, the video card starts going and then it heats up and then it freezes and
no, it's all just fine, and then it just freezes, and it'll sometimes it has a little clicking that goes with it, like
That's the hard drive dying.
That's the hard drive, yeah.
Oh.
Backup,
That's not good.
Back up and put an SSD in there. It will run really fast after you do that.
And what does it cost to do that, to replace the hard drive?
Depends if you do it or if you have someone else do it.
I mean, if you don't need a lot of space, if you get like a 256 drive, it may cost you. I mean, I've gotten them for, $30. For 1 gig, you can get it under 100 for the SSDs.
Yeah, it's usually not the cost of the drive; it's the labor to cut the computer open and replace the drive.
Right. And those you have to cut the glue with a little thing and take the screen off with the suction cups, and once that part is done, it's not too bad. It's not too hard to get in there and change the hard drive. But the big thing is getting the screen, and then you have to buy the kit to get the new adhesive strips to put on.
And some Macs also need the thermal sensor replacement because they use a different sensor than the Apple drives.
Right. OWC, Other World Computing, has the different kits for the different iMacs.
Yep.
So you could get a hard drive with the strips, with the thermal sensor and everything you need, suction cups, and if you know somebody who knows how to do that, you could probably get away pretty cheap. And during the pandemic, I've probably done about 20 of them for people. And myself, I've changed a lot of different things on there, but once you get that screen off, it's not too bad.
Only $800 for an 18 terabyte drive.
Ooh, I'm gonna go get that one.
That's a spinning drive. That's not an SSD.
It's probably 18,000 for the SSD.
Yeah. Let's see, SSD for iMac. What's the biggest SSD that's out? You said 2013, Kim?
Yeah. 27 inch.
27 inch, yeah.
27 inch, you're going to need a 3.5-inch adapter. Right. So, yeah, 2 terabyte drive is $450. Well, that's the basic one, and then there's a faster one, 4 terabyte drive for $800.
Now, is yours just a regular hard drive or not a what do you
Fusion
call it?
drive?
Fusion drive.
It's a Fusion drive.
Oh, that's
Fusion, yeah.
So that's harder. Well, you can replace the HD on the front with an SSD, and then either use the other, the SSD, the Blade SSD Apple uses is on the back of the logic board, and there's another hour to tear apart and put back together again. Or you can just add that and make a new Fusion drive with the new SSD you put in. You said 27 inch. It's the same drives. You just need the adapter drive, 3.5-inch adapter, so that you can put the 2.5-inch drive into the 3.5-inch bay.
Or duct tape.
Yeah, we've seen people come in that have just taped the drive in.
And then you have to weigh, how old your computer is versus a new one. And, maybe you could get yourself a Mac Mini and put the money into that instead of getting this hard drive.
And then use your TV as a monitor. And then use your monitor as a TV. Alrighty, so let's move on to some of the new Apple products. And one of the biggest ones that came out last month after the meeting was the new iPad Pro, the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch. And contrary to all the speculation about an A14X or A15 chip, Apple put the M1 in it. So the same M1 that's used in the new MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros are now in the iPad Pro. And so it's super whiz-bang fast, mind-blowing performance. One of the things that's kind of interesting is that the new the M1, let me back up a minute. The M1 MacBooks can run iOS programs because it's the M1 is based on the A series that the iOS is running. So now that the iPad is running the M1, we're wondering if it's going to be able to run the macOS programs, and if that's how Apple is going to kind of merge the iPad and the iMac, or get a touchscreen Mac, is by putting macOS on the iPad Pro. All completely conjecture. We don't know yet, but it's an interesting possibility. They have also upgraded the LCDs now, and they're calling it a Liquid Retina XDR. They're using mini LCD panel, so that the dots that make up the pixels are even smaller, so you get a much higher quality dot, and so the image looks better. 5G capable on the model, so for the cellular models you can put 5G in it. Just going through their animations. Oh, geez. I haven't seen all these animations lately. So M1 XDR 5G OMG. And then here it is with the Apple Smart Keyboard, Magic Keyboard, that has a trackpad on it. So basically now this is a touchscreen computer. And we're starting to see, go into order, we're starting to see them showing up in the production chain. And so the 11-inch iPad Pro now starts at $799, and the 12.9-inch for $1099. And you can get silver or gray. The 11-inch. Well, no, let's max it out. Always the fun is maxing something out to see how much you're going to pay. So unlike the iPad Airs that come in more colors, the Pro is only silver or gray. You can get up to a 2 terabyte SSD in it, which jumps the price quite dramatically. So from 128 gig to 2,000 gig is $1,000 more. But now we are talking about a desktop class computer. So it's a 2 terabyte drive, and we have a touchscreen computer. The cellular model you can get with a cell plan. Let's see, so it's $200 extra for cellular. Yeah, free engraving. Although we're hearing some interesting things about you can put emoji on your engraving now, but they won't let you make obscene, profane, or vulgar emojis. So you can't use a pile of poo with a horse, for example. Let's say we can. No, let me do that. Free engraving. So do no engraving. So we're at $2,200 for the high-end 12-inch iPad Pro, and we might as well put a pencil and a keyboard on it. So we'll put that in there. We'll get the keyboard. So now we have a touchscreen iMac, and we're at $2,700. And we really should put AppleCare on it if we're spending that much on it. So there's the interesting thing happening with AppleCare now on all the mobile devices, that if you pay a flat fee, it's for 2 years, period. If you pay a monthly fee, it keeps going forever until you cancel it. So you get more than 2 years of AppleCare on an iPhone or an iPad if you use the monthly payment plan. And your incidents for the AppleCare Plus, you get 2 incidences every 2 years. So that in your 3rd year, you'll get 2 more incidences of damage claim if you need to. So we can throw that in there. So that's, let me go back to tech specs here. So the iPad physical sizes are pretty much the same. And they now have they have 3 mics and 4 speakers. So you get much better audio out of them as well. They do. Yep.
what kind of power connector are they using? Is it USB-C or still the Lightning thing?
The iPad Pro uses USB-C, and the iPad Air now uses USB-C, so they're moving them all to USB-C. And unlike the phone, the iPad does come with a power adapter. So the phone comes with the cable but no power adapter, because that's supposed to be greener. Everyone has power adapters. We don't need to put too many in the box. But it's still nice to have an extra power adapter. And then so here's the specs. 1,000 nits full-time brightness and 1,600 nits peak brightness on the 12.9 inch. So it's really an amazing display they've built with the micro LED. And they're using the 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine, so it's a 32-core processor. In an iPad, blindingly fast.
So with that brightness, does that mean we go blind faster?
Well, it means you can read it in bright daylight. Especially with the anti-reflective coating on it now, too. And the camera is better. It now has, let me zip up to the top here, has the 3-camera array on it and the LiDAR on it, so that you have 2x optical zoom, 5-element lens. You can record 4K video. The true depth camera, so it can do the face recognition. Most of this is the same. The 4 speakers is new. 5 studio quality mics. A lot of people are using iPads for podcasting and video recording, so now they have a better mic system in it. And with the USB-C connection, you can plug in almost any USB-C device. You still need drivers for it, but a lot of audio production companies are coming out with drivers for their microphones and their mixer boards. So that's getting to be pretty big.
Another question, Steve.
Yep.
With all those microphones, if you were to do a meeting of about 20 people around in a circle or something, and put it on Zoom and stuck that thing in the middle of the room, would it pick them up?
Yeah, it could pick up the noise coming from wherever it's coming around the room. And they have a TV commercial where someone is on a meeting and the microphone is picking up the noise coming from behind them and cancels it out because it knows you're talking in the front. And so the camera then pans over and shows the dad and a kid, making a lot of noise, behind mom who's on the meeting. So the extra mics can also help with noise cancellation and noise lockout in the back.
And how many mics are in the small iPad Pro now?
It says 5.
No kidding.
Where'd I go? Mic, video, audio, speakers, microphones. Yeah, 5 mics, so it doesn't differentiate between the 11 and the 12.9 on that one. So if we go for a more reasonable priced iPad, let's say, bless you.
Thank you.
Let's say we want to change that to an 11-inch. And from 2 terabyte, let's just say, so 256 is nice, but you can still run out of 256. So now we're down to 1028. Well, that's because I've also got the pencil and everything else on it. So if I close that window and start over, no, that's not what I want. Com/iPad. Start with a new window for iPad Pro. And order. So we'll go 11-inch. I like the gray one myself. We'll do the 256. Wi-Fi is $899. So that's about the same price. You're looking at a $999 MacBook Air without the touchscreen with 256 of storage.
What is it with a 512?
Let's see, go back. $200 more, so $1099. So 128 to 512 is 200. 128 to 56 is 100. 256 to 512 is 200. 512 to 1 terabyte is 400. And then 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte is also 400.
Thank you.
That's partly because the bigger the SSDs get, the much more expensive they get. Now we saw that on the OWC page. The 4 terabyte SSDs were ridiculously expensive. So we're starting. Pardon?
The SSDs probably hold up pretty well over time, though, because I mean I've got a 5 or 6 year old iPad that's still working, and it's got to be an SSD. There's no hard drive in those.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Several companies, Google and Backblaze, have released studies of disk usage because they go through so many disks, and we expected SSDs to have a lower failure rate because there's no moving parts than spinning disks. But it turns out overall it's about the same, about a 20% per year failure rate, because of the way SSDs work. When you write data to an SSD cell, you're actually burning through the insulation to store a charge. And so every time you write data, it wears out the disk a little bit. So if you fill it up and then never write anything more, then you probably will last a lot longer. In fact, most SSDs do something called wear leveling. So if you update a file, it doesn't write the data back to the same location. It writes it to a different location on the disk, so that it can wear all the cells wear out about the same time.
Does reading from an SSD also?
No, it can read the charge without damaging the cell.
Okay.
But when it writes data, it has to overcome the insulation between cells so that it can store the charge in it. So we've got some. Let me see if we have them on the store yet. We have some yesterday iPads on sale now at our shop. As soon as new stuff comes out, we get yesterday everythings. So if you don't need the latest and greatest, you can save a little bit of money on a yesterday model. Let's see. Nope, I don't want to do that. I know Tyler's been going nuts putting all the yesterday iPads up.
Are those reconditioned with a new battery and stuff, or what?
No, they're new in the box. It's just yesterday they were the new model. Today they're not.
All right.
Let's see if he has them listed yet. Jackie's been out of town, so Tyler and I have been trying to do everything that she also does. And she does an awful lot. Yeah, so the new 4th gen we have up online. So that's the iPad. The next new thing they announced was the new iMac. And that's the iMac 24-inch now. And so the 21-inch is being replaced by a 24-inch. At about the same physical size. They've just made the bezels smaller. And the whole computer is extremely thin now. They're saying it's 11 millimeters thick. And comes in a whole bunch of different colors. So we've had some people really like some of the weird colors. I wouldn't think that lemon yellow or orange would go over that big. They still have silver for the non-adventurous of it, but green and purple. And blue. I kind of like the blue one myself. And they start at $12.99. So just like the current iMacs do. And they have the color accent is interesting. The front color is different from the rear color is different from the foot color. I don't know how well this animation is coming across the internet.
Good.
So you have yellow and orange and red. Now the red is interesting. The red is pretty red on the back, but it's more pink on the front. And purple. So it's a deeper purple on the back and more of a lavender on the front, or blue, or traditional silver. And you may notice they have a white bezel on them now, instead of the black bezel the current iMacs have.
But I want black.
Gotta wait for the iMac Pro, I bet. Now these are only the 21 inches got replaced by the 24s, so there's 27s are still the Intel machines, and they haven't changed. So there could be a possibility of different colors on the 27-inch. And then the iMac uses the same M1 that the Mac Pro and MacBook Pro and Mac Air have been using. Now, interestingly, it still has a headphone jack, but since the headphone jack standard is 14 millimeters, it doesn't fit on the back the way it used to, so now it's on the side, which a lot of people think is where it should have been to begin with. It's got the same sort of pivot up and down, but it doesn't raise or lower. So some people were hoping they'd go back to more of an iMac G4 where it would raise and lower itself. And you get up to 4 ports on the back, 2 USB-C and 2 Thunderbolt with USB-C as well. And let's rotate down. A magnetic power connector, so that it zips in magnetically and holds itself in place. And so now there's only a single cord, along with your wireless keyboard and mouse. And the power cord is a matching color. The keyboard and mouse is also a matching color. Since it's a 24-inch display, it's 4.5K Retina quality, so you get even better and bigger screen. I'm showing off one of their
Hey Steve,
videos.
with the power, doesn't it have a power brick?
Yep, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
There's no room for a power supply in the computer, so there's an external brick now. So the iMac has a P3 color gamut, and it will do 500 nits. So it's as good or better than the previous 4K model. One thing really nice now, they upped it to a 1080p camera instead of the 720 camera that other computers have. Although even a 1080p camera is pretty weak compared to some of the 2K and 4K cameras that are out now. But they're limited by how thin they want to make it. And one of the things that they do now is in the M1, they have an image signal processor. So it basically takes, 7 pictures and goes through 7 different filters to give you the best image quality all the time based on what it's taking a video of or a picture of. So even though it's only a 1080p camera, it can produce really exceptional quality pictures. Again, studio quality mics, they say. So people that are doing podcast recording or audio recording will be able to use the built-in mic. 6-speaker sound, which is really amazing considering how thin the iPad is, that they're able to get speakers that sound that good and are that thin. The current iMacs only have 2 speakers. So you get
electrostatic speakers.
Is that what they are?
I'm guessing to be that thin, maybe they use that technology.
Could be.
What is Logic Pro?
That is Apple's audio editing program for basically making record albums, sort of, or soundtracks to movies. So it's kind of a souped-up version of GarageBand.
Yeah, I have a copy of it. It's great.
And it supports Dolby Atmos and spatial audio, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't do a whole lot on the computer, but when you pair it with the turn here a minute. When you pair it with the AirPods Pro, when you turn your head, the audio in a video will sound like it's coming from the different location. So just like in a theater, when there's audio coming from behind you, you hear it behind you. And so this spatial audio can do that with now regular speakers, which is pretty cool. Again, the M1 chip and Big Sur native. So everything is bigger, better, faster. Let me get down here. All the Apple apps that it comes with are all optimized for the M1 and Big Sur. And you can pair it with your iPhone. I'm trying to find where the picture of the logic board is. The keyboard and mouse are also color accented. Keyboard, mouse, and trackpad. And there's three keyboard options. You have the standard keyboard, and then you have the Magic keyboard that has a Touch ID built into it. So now the iMac gets Touch ID options. And then there's an extended keyboard that has the side keypad, also with Touch ID. And it's Magic. So it does a wireless Touch ID. So the sensor in the keyboard, there's got to be a T2 chip in the keyboard, registers your fingerprint, matches it to the initial setup, and then tells the computer, yeah, this is the right person, let him in.
And automatically connects to law enforcement. Quick question on the keyboards. Have they totally gotten away from that awful butterfly switch thing that I bought in my iMac, my iPad Pro?
There's some of the butterflyness in it, but it's more like the scissor switch keys used to be.
All right.
Steve,
and there hasn't been any big complaints about the last couple generation keyboards.
Is a Magic keyboard the only keyboard you can get with it?
There's three versions. There's the regular keyboard without the Touch ID, and then for an additional fee you get the one with the Touch ID, and for an even more additional fee you get the extended keyboard with the Touch ID.
I like wires. Can you get wires?
Not from Apple. Well, sort of. They're rechargeable keyboards, so you plug the charging cable in, and now it's a wired keyboard.
Oh, okay. Other question: is it as stable on the desk as my iMac right now? You can virtually not turn this thing over unless you're really trying to turn it over. That little, just slightly smaller foot looks like it might not be quite as stable. I don't know.
Well, I would guess it's as stable as the previous generation. What's interesting that there's a tail on the foot. The current iMacs don't have that tail, because the Mac is so much thinner and so much lighter. It doesn't have the center of gravity that the current Mac does, so it probably is just as good. And they don't want it to tip over.
Side.
Pardon?
I was speaking more side to side.
Well, it depends on what you have it sitting on and how slippery a surface it is.
Oh, okay.
Because the whole foot would pivot.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it's a 24-inch, 4.5K display, up to 2 terabytes. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the logic board because there's a couple of interesting differences here. So on the base model, the 1299 model, you get 2 ports, 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB 4 ports. And on the higher models, you get 4 ports. 2 are USB 3 only, and 2 are Thunderbolt USB 4 ports. Excuse me. Size and weight, let's see. Yeah, under 10 pounds. There was a really cool video of the logic board, and I can't find it. I will search for that in a minute, so we can check the pricing on it. So actually, that should have been in tech specs too. As someone had mentioned a little bit earlier, the brick. Let me find it again. The power brick. It looks like a laptop MacBook Pro brick that sits on the ground. Did they have it in this picture? And one of the neat things is there's an optional Ethernet port on the brick, so that you can plug your Ethernet into the. It's gonna be in the main main video. You can plug your Ethernet jack into the brick that can sit on the floor, so you don't have to have that Ethernet cord plugging running up to the top of your Mac. I will find those videos in a moment. So let's go into the order page. And so the $1299 model is the M1 chip, 8-core CPU and 7-core GPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and 256 storage for $1299. So it's basically similar to the current model, but you're getting a 31-core processor instead of the 4-core processor the current models have. And then the other difference is in the $1299 model, there's only 4 colors available. When you move up to the $1499 model, you get an extra GPU core and you get more options for the colors. You also get the 2 extra USB ports and you get the Ethernet port, and the Touch ID keyboard is standard. So that $200 price increase is the extra GPU core, the extra ports, the Ethernet, and the Touch ID. And
Steve,
then, yep.
Could you with the memory on these M1 computers, the max that I've seen is 16 gig. And could you explain to people, I mean, is this enough memory? If you got the max, the 16 gig for, let's say, 4 years from now, and how does this memory work compared to
it's
sticks you put in?
It's completely different than in the traditional memory architecture we've been using for the last 40 years. This is unified memory, so that the single M1 chip has your GPU, has the CPU, it has the neural engine, it has the RAM, it has the storage. It's all on a single chip. So what we have been seeing with benchmarks and people that have been pushing the amount of memory is that because the memory is not separate from the CPU, so there used to be a memory bus, and the CPU was say clocked at 3 gigahertz, your memory bus was probably only 1 gigahertz. And so the memory was always significantly slower. So you would traditionally need to have more memory so that it could load things off the hard drive, because the hard drive was even slower on the SATA bus. And so now with unified memory, the memory and the storage are on the same bus as the CPU. So it's significantly faster than it used to be. So for most people, we're seeing a lot of the reviews are saying you can kind of double the memory as to the way it used to be. So the current 8 gig unified memory is just as good as 16 gigs used to be, because of the way the memory architecture is now on that single unified chip. And so if you want to be safe, then moving up to 16 gigs of memory now would be like having a 32 gig Intel iMac. And because it is a single chip, for storage and RAM, you will not be able to upgrade internally later. You can always plug in an external storage drive for more storage, but the internal storage and RAM is set at the time you purchase it. So if we go up to that 16 gigs of RAM, and then you can go up to a 2 terabyte storage drive now. And again, this is in the 21-inch model, which is now 24 inches. We're at $2,500 for the high-end 21-inch model. And what we're seeing is that for most people, well, for average users, 512 is fine, and 1 terabyte gives you room to grow. But even with a 512, you can always add an external drive for more storage. But we do see that people are a little confused about having 2 drives and knowing which one to save what to. So it is more convenient to have a single internal drive.
Yeah. Would you see the new we're talking about 30-inch iMacs.
Yeah, the rumor that the 24 or 27 inch is going to get replaced by the 30 inch.
Would you see possibly the Apple putting in, let's say, more memory?
Yeah, we're guessing
32?
we're guessing it's probably going to be a new chip, the M1X or the M1X for the 30 inch and then the M2 in an iMac Pro. That would have more memory available and more storage available, because 2 terabytes isn't a lot of storage for someone who's doing a lot of video work. The current expectations is that they might announce this 30 inch at WWDC in June, which is only next month. So, and because, pardon?
I'm just wondering whether they would even have an iMac Pro, since these iMacs would run so fast.
Yeah, the current iMacs, the current Intel iMacs have outrun the all but the highest end iMac Pro for a while now, because iMac Pro hasn't been updated since what, 2017. They may not have an iMac Pro, or they may have a special higher end iMac 30 inch with the M2 processor, and they might call that the iMac Pro. So with a lot of people are liking to speculate whether we're going to see an M1X or an M2, or should you buy this one now, or should you wait for the next one?
Looking at the price for this computer, Carol and I have noticed a pattern, and that is, over the years, the computer you always want is $2,500.
Yeah. It may start at $1,299, but the one you want is going to be more. And the other thing now, too, is that if you try to order one now, you're looking at a month and a half before you get it. Apparently, if you ordered it on day 1, which was April 30th, you might get it end of May. So the shipping times are being quite delayed.
So if we order that from your shop today, June, whatever is when we can expect it.
Yeah, probably middle of June, end of June.
Okay. Because I sent you an email the other day, and I think someone at your shop sent an excellent letter back. My daughter's going to start MCC in the fall in videography, and the professor that's the head of the department likes Macs. And I think what I'd ask about, would the 16-inch have the M1 chip? And I think the answer is it doesn't at this point, and there's no
right. So that's the other thing happening, or waiting to happen. The 27-inch needs to switch to Apple Silicon. The high-end 13-inch MacBook Pros and the 16-inch MacBook Pro are still Intel, so they need to switch to a faster chip, probably the M1X, maybe an M2. And then we still don't know what's going to happen to the Mac Pro, the $40,000 Mac Pro. Are they going to keep with ridiculously high-end Xeon processors, or are they going to go more than that as well?
Yes, her problem is she needs the thing now.
Yeah.
And she can't wait around to see, whether or not Apple will upgrade. So I guess we have no choice but to get the M16 and get it tricked out the way he suggests, because of the heavy editing they will do. And the M1 comes along, then it just is what it is.
You may want to look at some of the benchmarks that if you go with an Apple Silicon, let me go back up to the top here. If you go with the low end 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is using the M1, it has been outperforming the 16-inch i9 on almost all tasks until you get to some really high-end, really specialty things. The biggest issue with the current the Apple Silicon M1 Macs is there's only 2 ports. So the Intel Macs still have 4 ports, and that can be a big issue for people. But they're still they're quite a bit more expensive. So if we start with that M1 13-inch.
Well, he's suggesting for her class is that she get as much of everything that she can get, just because of the nature of the class and what they will be doing, and several external drives to run, say, Final Cut Pro from, some other things like Da Vinci and stuff that they'll absolutely be learning
Yep.
and doing. So
Yeah.
she kind of has no choice but to spend the maximum amount of money. And I think when we looked at the 16-inch, it came out to about $5,000. And I said, well, we're going to get it from your shop because we know you. We've been there before. So
Yeah.
I see no way to get around it.
You know, the M1 13-inch MacBook Pros, like Steve said, may outperform the 16-inch because I have a 16-inch
Yeah.
MacBook Pro. I mean, it works great and everything, but the way these M1 chips work with high-end programs and everything, you know, you may want to do a little bit more research to, you know, that M1 13-inch MacBook Pro may be the one to go with.
Yeah, if you max out a M1 13-inch, you're at 2,200. And you max out the 16-inch, you're at 6,700. Let me find here Mac Rumors. So the scores for the Intel machines, the M1 machines are outpacing the Intel machines significantly. Even in the MacBook Air model. Let me go to. Let me try. So here's 16-inch. So the MacBook Air 2020 is faster than the MacBook Pro 16-inch.
Okay. So if I understand you, then the M1 chip is probably the way to go, even though the screen will be a little smaller.
Right, and you're only spending $2,000 now, and so in 2 years, you could replace that with something better, and still spend less than that $5,000, because you could sell the current one for probably $1,000 in 2 years, and then get an even better machine when the M1X or M2s come out.
And they can use you can use an external screen with that MacBook Pro.
Yeah, you can always plug in an external monitor if you want something bigger. And the 16-inch MacBook Pro is pretty heavy to carry around all the time. Where a lot of people like that 13-inch because it's so light, and then you get back to your desk and you plug into a bigger screen.
Well, when she's back at an apartment, she can always plug into the bigger screen.
Yeah.
And when she's in the classroom, she could use a 13-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that. Apple cider just paid for itself.
And we'll only charge you $1,000.
Oh, thank you very much.
It paid for itself several times over.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
So yeah, a lot of people have been reporting different benchmarks. Yeah, that the 16-inch is looking a little anemic next to the M1. And a lot of that is because of the unified memory and storage architecture. Just everything is so much faster because it doesn't have to wait to get RAM off the bus or storage off an even slower bus. Now here's an alternate opinion, and he's not getting the super fast one. I think he's going to wait for the next one, if I remember reading this story. Go away, ad. Yeah, he's waiting for the next one. So because the current M1 MacBooks are the lower end models with only 2 ports, we know that there's something better coming to replace the higher end models that have 4 ports. And it just depends on when that happens. I hate to talk myself out of a sale. I would wait until after WWDC and see what they announce there. Because if they announce the faster, bigger 13 inches and maybe even the 16-inch,
yeah, but that's in June, and you're not going to get the machines until later.
Yeah, the problem is if you wait until June to get it, so June 7th through 11, you wait till June to get it. When it's announced, it probably won't be available until July or August, and then you're really pushing up against the beginning of the school year.
No, she doesn't need it until, I guess, September.
Yeah.
And she's been doing Final Cut Pro and stuff for several years now, so it's not like she's going to walk into class and say, "Oh, I never seen this before."
Yeah.
She could probably use the MacBook Air that she's using right now until something like this comes along, if it comes along. But I can't wait too long. I need to, so you know, she needs to be able to hit the ground running with whatever they suggest. So
Yep.
I don't know.
You can probably figure if they come out with a 16-inch M1 or M plus, probably add, you know, $1,000 or $1,500 to that.
Right.
Like
Whereas-
the current models do, yeah.
Right. Like, but this 13-inch MacBook Pro seems like the sweet spot for a laptop. You know, you got a great, you know, great computer in a small package, and it's comparatively speaking for Mac, it's not that much.
Okay. And I hadn't thought about, you know, when she gets back to her apartment, putting it on a larger screen so she can work there. So, yeah, we need bang for the buck here. So, or well, she does.
Just make sure when you get a larger screen, you get something with a higher resolution, something with.
Yeah, there's kind of a tricky thing on displays, that you can get a 24-inch screen that's only 1080p, which is a very low resolution, 1920 by 1080. You generally want to look at a 2K or even maybe even a 4K display. So it depends on if you want a bigger image or if you want more image.
Let me just give you something that I bought a 4K Samsung monitor to 28-inch, and I got it for like $260. I liked it so much. I got another one because I always have a 3-monitor setup on with my iMac, and the 1080p was just driving me crazy with the resolution going from one screen to another. And these are perfect. It's a Samsung 28-inch 4K, and they're really, you know, for the money, they're a good monitor.
We've been playing, well, Jackie's been playing with a 30-inch curved monitor. I wonder if we have it on our website. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but she likes one giant monitor better than 2 small monitors because you don't have that seam between them.
Well, my daughter's looked at the 30-inch like that, and she loves it, except that she doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
So, and I'm only going to spend so much, but I do want to be successful.
Dad, I want to get a monitor, Dad.
Yeah.
Only the best for the kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, the one thing that we often say over the years is that when they go to college, you buy them the computer, and then when they finish college, they can buy their own damn computer.
Yep. Okay, well, this has been actually quite educational. I think I'm going to take a look at the M1 instead, and as opposed to the 16, because I forgot about the fact that you can always put a bigger monitor attached to it. So so at some point we'll be in.
Well, it will run the Apple monitor if you want to do the 6K monitor for $5,000.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Here's a article on 9 to 5 on 4K monitors. Let's see what they pick. An LG at 32-inch. And it's only $1,300. Of course they picked that.
Yep.
You can have good or you can have cheap. If you want both, that's a little different. Here's one for $2,000. Oh, here's a curved one. A Dell curved monitor.
Like I said, I got mine, the 28-inch.
You said it was a Samsung?
Yeah, 28-inch. When I bought it, it was $260. I know I've seen them like $450, but you can probably see them on sale for around $260, $270, and it works fine. It works great.
Okay.
Make
the
sure
money.
you use your Amazon Smile links when you're buying stuff on Amazon, so we get our referral fee,
Okay.
especially on big items.
Well, we'll come up with something, but since I don't have Donald Trump's money,
Yeah.
it'll won't be top of the line.
I got a
Just
32 for $298 now.
Bezos's new yacht.
Yeah.
I think the one I got was the 580. The Samsung.
That's $590.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, what was the rumor? So with Prince Philip's passing, the Queen of England is suddenly single, and Bill Gates announces he's getting a divorce. What's going on there?
She's got him by about 25 years.
Yeah. You want a gaming monitor? You want a curved monitor? You want a smart monitor? There's so many. I'd say, and this is all just Samsung. How can one company make 100 different models and expect you to choose between them?
Yeah, mine was the E570, the 28-inch.
Is the monitor the same quality as the TV? It's
A 4K TV is usually about the same quality as a 4K monitor.
There's a Samsung TV, like it's like the middle line that you can do like a split screen on and cast like to one half and have TV on the other half.
Yeah, there are monitors that have multiple inputs that let you basically. A 4K monitor is for HD monitors, so you can have side to side, or you can have top and bottom. Bob, I'm sorry, Ken, you said that was an E570?
Yeah, it's a U28 E570.
28. That's why I couldn't find it.
I see it on here. Let's see, single, yeah. It's
the other thing that happens is things get discontinued and replaced by new things so fast.
Yeah, so it could be, I mean, it may be an older model.
Yeah, sometimes you can get like last year's model cheaper than this year's was. So you said it was 28.
I see it for 323 on here.
And we want 4K.
And they even have a. They even have a 32-inch 4K for 319.
Yep.
That's the.
There's a 34-inch for 390. Oh, that's the curved gaming one. Oh, yeah.
Newegg.
What makes a gaming one a gaming one?
Faster response time, so that the graphics are smoother. So when you're shooting someone, and you can dodge out of the way faster.
Can you use the monitor to watch television if you cast like from your phone?
It depends on what you mean.
Probably.
Well, it depends on what you mean by television. You can watch any streaming service that you have. You can watch any video on any internet service. If you want to watch broadcast television, you would need a TV tuner.
That one I was talking about at Newegg, Newegg.com, it's $299 for that 28 ES 570.
But if all you watch now, if you watch streaming TV services, instead of buying a TV, you could just buy a cheaper monitor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 570 is $299 and the 590 is $718. Why?
Because they can.
Yeah.
So I've got a question here.
Yep.
this may be totally idiotic, but that's my role in the club anyway. Is there software you can load into a computer that will function as a TV tuner if you can also connect an antenna to it somehow?
Sort of. There are programs, well, so there are physical TV tuners that you can plug in over USB. And then plug an antenna into it, or you can plug a cable TV into it if you get a cable card so you can watch cable TV. Then there are websites that have TV software that will often, no, it's usually Kodi is where they start with. It will have software to let you watch broadcast TV shows from multiple sources. And quite often, those sources turn out to be illegal and get shut down, so then you look for more sources. The Kodi software itself is free for multiple platforms. It's Kodi. And then once you have the Kodi software loaded, then you would go and find basically channels you want to load into it. And so there's a Kodi store, and you can download different options for Kodi.
Hey, it runs on Raspberry Pi too.
Yep, even runs on Raspberry Pi.
So would you be, would this depend on whether a local TV station, for example, was streaming online?
Right.
And if it was, you wouldn't even need it. You'd just go to their website, right?
Yeah. So yeah, if the TV is streaming on the internet by itself, you can do that. But what a lot of people will do is they will want to watch TV from another city. So, like the game is blacked out in your city, so you watch it from another city. And many of these Kodi apps are free. Some of them have their own charge, and some of them are illegally capturing the content, and they get shut down until someone else finds a new one and then posts it up again.
Can you get in trouble for watching it?
Theoretically, yes, but practically, probably not. There are also Kodi boxes you can buy preloaded with lots of different add-ons. And there's several different services for that too. It's similar to the Plex software, which is another type of streaming service. Then you load up with services you want to get to. Yeah. So this company says make sure you're running a VPN so that when they do track you down for doing something illegal, it doesn't come to you.
That Plex, was that with a P as in Papa or an F as in Fox?
PLEX.
Thanks. All speculative.
And I think they have an app for iOS now too, if I remember right. So they've got 130 free channels, or you can upgrade to a pay service to get more channels. So the proliferation of internet streaming content means that you don't necessarily have to go to your cable TV company to get content. That there are now lots of other places to get TV shows. The traditional streaming services like Hulu TV, YouTube TV, Sling TV, but now we're seeing lots of new ones. There's Pluto TV, Plex TV. It seems like every week another TV service comes up. There's a website called suppose.tv where you can put in the networks you want to watch, and suppose you could find the best service for all of your networks. So you go through all of your networks, and it tells you what streaming service you can use. So say I want Fox, I want USA, I want HBO. So it gives me the different choices and different packages available.
Which you then pay for.
Right. And what we're seeing is they're not always cheaper than cable TV. So you still have to shop around.
And if you're using something like the Kodi type system or Plex or whatever, and it gets you involved with illegal sources, then you probably need to factor in the cost of a VPN and what you're doing too, if you're willing to be. And my morals are variable about that kind of stuff, but.
So, Steve, was there any other new products of Apple's that you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, there was one new thing. The AirTags finally got announced. So this has been rumored for 2 years, and it's a tracking thing, about the size of a quarter, a little bit bigger than a quarter, and you will put it on your stuff. So in a suitcase, on a bag, on a key ring, in a purse, and of course they sell lots of accessories, including some ridiculously expensive accessories. The Hermes leather ones are $1,000, ridiculous. And so it lets you find those things. If you are routinely losing your stuff, you can find it. And if you use a new enough phone, 11 or later, iPhone 11 or later, there's a chip in it called ultra wideband, which will actually point you with precision to the right direction of where you need to go to find the that device. It will work with other iPhones just with less precision, and so you hit the speaker button and it will make the thing ping so you can find it in that room. They have
How does it point up?
Well, that's interesting. I wonder if it does. Well, it would say it'd probably have a circle that here it's above you. They have done a lot for privacy. Let me find all sorts of keychains and tags. The Hermes one's ridiculously expensive. Where's their privacy thing? They have made it so it's hard. There we go. Privacy built in. They can stop unwanted tracking. If your phone notices an AirTag that's not associated with you, it will warn you. If it finds an AirTag that keeps coming in and out of range of you that isn't yours, it will warn you. So it tries to warn you about stalkers. You can, though, borrow an AirTag from somebody else and say, this is an AirTag that I'm using. It is me. Don't alert me again.
But that would only apply if, like, the stalker was using an Apple device, wouldn't it?
Basically, yeah. You'd have to slip an AirTag in on your person as you were walking by, and then he could track you.
No, but other types would not be detected.
So yeah.
So if I'm a policeman, can I put it on my criminals that I want to track?
Yes, but the courts have ruled that's illegal. As long as they stay in public. There was a court case a couple of years ago where they put a tracker on somebody's car, and they were able to track the criminal to his home, and were able to arrest him when he was home. And the attorney successfully argued that when the car was in the garage, there was a reasonable expectation of privacy, and the police couldn't track him in his garage because he was in his own home. The police tried to argue it's just the same as we followed him physically. We were just trying to save manpower and money for the city, that they didn't have to pay extra police to physically follow the person around. And the court said, no, you have to physically follow the person around. But there's usually easier ways to tag somebody like that. You just ask Google or Verizon to give the phone's history, and it will tell you what cell towers they're on. Hello? Siri, answer the phone.
I just stopped it.
And the nice thing about the AirTags is it does have a user replaceable battery. They're $29 each. You get a 4-pack for $99, and you can add free engraving if you want. And as we mentioned earlier, there's zillions of accessories available. So you can name your AirTags. Let me get that.
So how long do these batteries last?
Let's see if they have a rating on them yet. Long.
More than a year, it says.
Yep.
Okay.
Are they sticky or you slip them in something?
You would put them in something, so a pocket or a keychain.
So you can't stick it on your key, on a key, or on your credit card, or on a remote.
If you put some adhesive on it, you could.
Okay.
So people are already complaining that, you know, the AirTag is $29. If you want a keychain, it's $35. If you want a leather one, it's $39. If you want an Hermé one, it's $350 bloody dollars. But there's a lot of companies coming out with cheap ones.
Steve, I think on Amazon they had them as low as $3.
Yeah.
And I think the batteries, the standard batteries. I mean,
yeah, it's a CR2032.
Yeah, and you can get a 10-pack for about $7 or $8 or something like that on Amazon. I already got a pack.
Yep.
Like a 10-pack that I use. So they're relatively cheap, and the battery life is fantastic for those things.
I almost think Apple's too late to this market, you know.
Well,
other tags have been around for quite some time.
Yeah, and iFixit did a teardown of the tracker, the Tile tracker, the Samsung tracker, and the Apple tracker. So the Apple one is significantly smaller, and they did a real neat X-ray of it, and the design of the Apple one is just so amazing. I can play this video here. Most of the Apple is a speaker, so you can really hear it. The logic board is just the circle on the outside, and then the battery is on the inside. Let me go find that picture. So most of the device is the speaker and the battery, and then you can see the circuitry that they were able to squeeze in there, and it's so much smaller than the other ones are, which is pretty amazing. Some
so
people
you can lose it easier.
Well, then you use your phone to find it. Some people have figured out how to drill a hole and put it on your own lanyard, so you don't drill through the circuit board. But don't do that.
In regards to Rick's comment, I'm reminded of Steve Jobs' maxim relating to when the iPod came out, which is supposedly that to succeed, you don't have to be the first on the market, you just have to be the best.
Yeah.
Does an SE count as an 11 or later?
Not for the precision finding. Let me turn all these down, and we'll go back to. So let me get the detailed specs on what models it works with. I think it works with any device that has the Find My app, which goes back a long way. Probably way down here in the bottom in the fine print specs. Yeah.
What? It was at the bottom.
So any device that can run iOS 14.5. So if we look at iOS 14.5 requirements. Okay. Okay, so now we got to go to the bottom of here to find what phones it's capable of running on. How many people have made an emoji? That was such a big deal on their keynotes and all the the designs they're showing off. Has anyone actually made their own Memoji?
I didn't know you could.
You're gonna make me go all the way to the bottom, aren't you, Apple? You're gonna tell me all these great new things, but you're not gonna tell me what I can use it on until I get way all the way to the bottom. A lot of companies are very upset about the new privacy guards in iOS 14, making you, there it is, making you ask for permission to do all sorts of things. Yeah, so it looks like, oh, the 6S and later, including the SEs.
Yeah.
So that's a long, the 6 was like 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, but Steve, as far as the tracking goes, I think 96% of the Apple people in the poll said that they do not want tracking. So it's only 4%.
Yep.
Hey, Steve, I got to sign out, but I want to thank everyone for your input tonight.
You're very welcome.
It's good to see you, Larry.
Yeah, good to see you.
Lloyd, thank you very much for coming on tonight. You look great, kid.
I really want to find that logic board. It may only be in the main video. So if you can watch the main video, you should. They show the inside of the iMac, the traditional iMac, and now the new M1 iMac, and they shrunk everything down into almost nothing. And so that's one of the reasons they're able to get the there it is. They're able to get the iMac so tiny is the logic board is almost nothing. And so the rest of the iMac can be the speaker area, it can be the LCD area. And so by not needing as much space, so there's a traditional logic board, and then the new iMac logic board is just so much smaller. There was a video as part of the introductory video. They showed how they did that. Yeah, so if you can go watch one of those introductory videos, that would be really good. Let's see if they have it in this article. Nope. Yeah, a lot of people were wondering about Face ID. Why doesn't the Mac have Face ID, but it has Touch ID? And some people are thinking maybe because of COVID, everyone is wearing masks. But then you're wearing your mask at home. You're not necessarily needing a mask while you're sitting in front of your own Mac. And let's see, where's the power brick? Yeah, there's the power brick that has it. So it looks a lot like the MacBook Pro, but it's got an Ethernet cord on it on the higher end models. So you can keep your desktop clutter down. Matching cables. All right, I'm going to take a couple minute break, and we might be just about done anyway. So hang on. Shirley, why don't you take over?
If I may, I would like to take this opportunity to poll those who are still in attendance here on the subject of headphones, specifically over the ear but open back headphones. Has anybody used them, and what are they like?
You mean other than typical headphones?
Well, in other words, over the ear headphones, my impression is they come in two kinds. One, the thing that goes over your ear is closed, and in another, it's open. There's a mesh or something, but it's open.
So one, you would be totally not be able to hear anything except what's coming through the sound, and the other one would be let you have outside listening besides what you're listening to.
That's correct, and of course, not here in the closed ones would be where you'd have your noise canceling features too.
Right.
But because I live alone and my ears sweat, I was considering getting a pair of Sennheiser open back over the ear phones.
Well, like you said, you're living alone, so you wouldn't have any distractions if you had the mesh ones, right?
Yeah.
Because
But
you'd be in your apartment by yourself, basically, right?
has anybody got experience using open back ones? And part of the reason I'm interested is that they apparently have a different acoustical effect, making it, they call it like a stage sound or something like that, so that it makes it sound or feel like the sound is coming from somewhat different direction than the closed back ones do.
I guess you would have to go and try them out, like go to the store or somewhere and that has those and listen to both of them.
That's a good suggestion.
I have an old pair of Sennheiser headphones that I've used for many, many years. They call them open air because they allow other sounds to come in and you can hear what's going on in the background if you need to.
Am I correct that essentially they do have at some place in the earphone structure, they essentially have like an open grating or something that?
Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Do they drive you crazy, or do they apparently if you had them and kept them and used them a long time, you must like the way they work?
Yeah, they're nice, and they have nice quality sound too.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
The reason I got interested in them was that Mimi hearing test thing that Dennis Worster talked about. Somewhere in Googling it, I ran across something that they had tested it on a small number of different brands of headphones, and one of them was Sennheiser, but I don't know if it's the one I'm looking at, but it sounds like they must have a pretty good frequency response.
If you have money to burn, you can get the AirPods Max. I don't know if we ever talked about that. It's over the head earphones, amazing sound quality, active noise canceling, but it's $550.
Yeah, and if it's noise canceling, it's not going to be open back, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And it uses a microphone to pick up the noise, and then there are like 3 or 4 processors in each cup that cancel out the noise before they give it to you.
Right, which is a wonderful thing if you need it. But like I say, my ears get steamed up if I cover them for a long time.
Yeah.
So
everyone points out that it's about $200 more than competing noise canceling headphones that probably work better.
Yeah.
So Charlie, it seems like you've already decided that you kind of want the mesh ones.
Yes.
So I guess you just have to try them out and see, right?
Yeah, no, it sounds, as long as Rick has had a good experience with that kind of thing, it sounds fine to me.
Yeah, Steve, why don't you see if you can show us a picture of it?
Of which?
Of the Sennheiser headphones that he's talking about.
All right, let me go back to share screen.
Yeah, I'm getting a big kick out of listening to you guys talk about the headphones. My hearing range in my good ear is 1,000 to 6,000. So I'm totally lost.
Mine's probably close to that.
You remember what the model number is, Rick?
The one?
No, mine were really old, so I don't know what the new ones are.
The one I kind of settled on looking online was about $100, and but I don't have that. I'm not. That's in my Chrome browser, and I don't have it open now because it's got windows all over the place. I'm in.
Were you doing wired or wireless?
Wired.
Wired. Okay, so we'll go back to wired headphones. Or not.
10% off.
Headphones. Are you an audiophile? Everyday life or TV and hearing?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
that's interesting. A hearing enhancement. Yeah.
Yeah. I get a kick out of all this business with audio files, which were of course all the rage when I was young, and people were spending tons of money for stereos where young people like them probably couldn't even hear the difference. And nowadays I know I can't, so the heck with it,
Yeah.
It's like 4K video. Your eyes can't actually see it.
I don't know. I'm very sensitive to hearing. I notice everything.
Enjoy it while you got it, kid.
Is that the one, the $69 one? Go up.
So there's 23 different wired headphones from
Well,
Sennheiser.
the one I'm particularly talking about is Sennheiser.
Yeah, I'm at Sennheiser. They have 23 different wired headphones.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see. How about we
I
sort
saw
price
one there
low to
that was
high?
$100.
All right, for you.
They start at $50 and go up to a lot more.
Let's look at the $100 ones.
Yeah. There's several for 100, 120, 150, 200, 250.
So I take it, Charlie, you didn't see the ones that you saw before?
I was not watching Steve's screen while he was scrolling through it.
Oh.
Let me
Let's go back up to the top.
No, that's okay. Don't. I'm going to open Chrome quick like and see if I can find it. This will be a real zoo.
Sennheiser's been a pretty good brand.
Yeah. Yeah, where is it? Let's try this one. Nope.
Yeah, so the ones I bought eons ago, they were $100.
Let's try this.
That was back when $100 was a lot of money.
Yeah. 500. I'm way up at the top now. $2,500 for their high-end headphones.
Get those.
Gee, for that you could buy a computer.
I
Yeah.
suggest that go to YouTube and look up reviews.
Yeah, that's good.
That's how I review everything I buy. Is I go there and see a half dozen different people, unboxing and reviewing the products.
That is a really good idea, Bob. Thank you. The ones I'm pretty sure the ones I was looking at are Sennheiser HD 559.
Yeah, about $100.
What a mess.
Ideal choice for listeners seeking an optimal blend of all-around performance and quality.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't everyone want
comfortable
an optimal overall quality?
I like mediocre best. I feel it fits.
Yeah.
You don't need it, and why pay for it if you don't need it?
Yeah.
That comes back to my comment about the young people and their high-end stereos.
Around ear headphones.
I heard a story from one of them years ago now, and to get the very best sound quality out of his highly expensive stereo, he had short-circuited around the fuses in it, and he, as he described, the way the thing gradually went up with little particles of plastic and other crap floating in the air. It was hilarious.
Have you ever heard Steve Martin's routine on the moon rock needle?
No.
Yeah, it's Google Phonics. It's not safe for work. But he talks about trying to get a stereo that sounds good, and he gets a better needle and better needle and better needle, and every needle just sounded like crap, and he finally ends up with a moon rock needle. And that sounds like crap. When did he, I wonder when this was out. Because that's a very old sketch. Let's get small. 1977. Wow.
Yeah. 45 years ago. God, I feel old.
Yeah, we all do now. Yeah, the AirPods Max also come in the two-tone colors. So the MacBook Air has different colors than the iPad Air, but it seems that the iPad Air is matching the AirPods Max, which is similar to the iMac. So who knows?
And how much does Apple want for these?
$550.
But there's no purple.
Forget that one.
There's no
Yeah.
purple.
No purple.
Yeah, we want the
There's
purple.
sky blue. But there
How
is
about pink?
There is black.
How about pink?
Yep.
Doesn't look like pink. See,
No,
that
it looks like
burnt.
an orangey pink.
And the other half is a redder pink. So there's 3 different colors on it.
Yeah, but it still looks like it's more orange salmon color than it does pink.
We're
Well, you
very
might have
particular
your-
about our colors.
You might have your night vision on setting.
Yeah.
No, I think I've got 2
Well, I
tone
guess
on.
you'd have to see them in person and say, oh, okay. Are you getting some in the store?
Yeah, we have a few. I don't know what colors we have. But
Yeah,
we're
if you want
selling
to
them.
look at high-end headphones, you really do need to go and personally listen to them and feel them, because it's not worth it otherwise.
Yeah.
How about medium end?
Cheap end. No.
Cheap end, I just buy it and try it, and if I like it, okay, and if not, I give it away.
Yeah, like if it's $20, you don't mind.
I guess it all depends on how much you're going to be using them for what. How much you want to spend for them.
You could probably even try Best Buy, because out of Best Buy, see, they used to have a display with the headphones that you could try them on and listen to them.
Walmart.
Yeah, one of the annoying things now is that the new iMac 24 is going to keep getting confused with the old iMac 24.
Yep, that's true. I don't know why they did that.
They should have done 23 and a half or something like that, just to differentiate it.
They should have done 25.
So for for the original Macs were 15. So they were 15, 17, and 20. And then they were 20 and 24. And then they were 21 and 27. So then now they're 24 and maybe 30. We don't know yet.
So the new iPad Pros, even though they have the chip, but they're still tablets, right? I mean,
yeah.
The thing for me that a computer does that the tablet doesn't do is let you have both windows open at the same time. With a tablet, I mean,
you can do that on the iPad. Yeah, you have split screen and over screen, so you can have 3 different programs open at once, or you can have multiple windows in the same program open at once.
Multiple windows in the same program.
We get a lot of people who accidentally get into split screen mode and want to get out of it.
Yeah, I always have trouble getting out of it because I can't remember how I got into it.
Well, the experience with the iPads is quite a bit different than your computer experience.
Yeah. As a general purpose computer, they can generally do more. But, 80% of the people would probably be fine with just an iPad.
Or 80% of what I do could be done on an iPad.
Yeah.
And it's really just a small number of things that I need
Well, that's because a lot of people, they want to check their email, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Surf the internet.
Have an email window open and a web window open.
I'm just in this whole year of being stuck at home. That's like I want a laptop, because I want to have everything open. I don't want to have to open my email and then now I gotta go close it and go to this other thing. Now I can keep the email open while I'm watching a TV window, while I'm going to do this other website, and then I can I can go back now. It's like the time wasted going back and forth and using different devices. I just want it all there, and I want it on my lap, so I don't have to hold up the tablet. It's not bad when you have a normal life, but when you're sitting here all day, that time factor adds up, all that extra time. I just want it all there.
Like I said, on my MacBook, in the Chrome browser, I usually have about 7 different windows open, and I just use what the heck is the name of that, the expose, and just put 3 fingers on the trackpad and pick a window, and then we'll talk about the tabs and the windows, and you know, so I got all kinds of stuff at my 3 fingertips.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we're
just
not
wish the
talking about-
iPads weren't quite as heavy as they are. They're still way too heavy. I'd like to see them be more like a Kindle in terms of weight.
And if you add the smart keyboard, then you're at or more the weight of a MacBook Air.
How sturdy is it if you have a keyboard on an iPad compared to a laptop? Like if you're just picking it up and move, is that just for like keeping in place, or can you pick it up and move it around easily, or is it more?
You're not supposed to pick a laptop up by the screen either. And
No, not by the
you're not supposed to pick it up one-handed. You're supposed to use 2 hands. But with the iPad, especially on the Magic Keyboard, it's magnetically attached, so it isn't really designed to be picked up that way. But you can if you grab both sides. But the iPad comes off the keyboard easily, so you can just pull it out as a tablet versus using it on a desk with the keyboard and trackpad.
But it's easy enough to move around. Just pick up, like
Yep.
I'm going to go in the other room, pick up, carry, and it won't fall apart.
Yeah. Even now, the regular iPad at 10.5 inches and 329, although 32 gigs is feeling pretty tight these days on an entry-level machine. You may want to move up to get the next level up. So it's only $100 for 4 times the storage.
My 32 filled up like way too fast.
Yep.
64 took me about a year to fill up.
Alrighty. Anybody have anything else they want to contribute, or should we call it a night?
Can you use Final Cut and Logic on an iPad?
Not Final Cut and Logic, but you can do GarageBand and iMovie.
All right.
So Bob,
looks like-
is Bob still here? Are you going to do your Saturday thing? Your virtual SIG? Where's Bob Hoey gone?
I'll
There he is.
Saturday at 3. I'll send out a hello to anybody that wants to participate. You got Leslie's name on there. Anybody here that will get an invite? Anybody else? I'll just send to the people that I know have expressed interest in the past. I'll
Yep.
send Shirley an invite.
Yep, go ahead.
You can send me one too, Bob.
If she would put it on her calendar and set a reminder, same thing for your Monday meeting, then she wouldn't keep missing it.
That's true. I need to do that because 4 o'clock just seems to be the middle ground of when I'm not there for some reason. But I'll have Steve help me with that. Put it on.
Hey, I just looked at the weight of a Kindle. It's only half a pound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much is the iPad?
They're like 1.5 pounds, I think.
Which size?
I'd have to look at it again.
Is a Kindle and a Fire the same weight? I have the Fire.
Well,
don't know.
there's a dozen different models of Kindle, and each has their own weight. Because it's like, you can't just say iPad. You have to know which iPad.
I just looked at my list that I use for inviting. I have 10 names on there. So it includes Carol and Rick.
Okay, good.
Kim is listed. And Carol and
Let's see what the
a few more.
iPad
Jackie.
Mini is.
I don't know if I have Shirley on there. I'll add her.
So the iPad Mini is 2/3 of a pound, and the iPad is just over a pound. The iPad Pro is 1.5 pounds on the 12.9 inch.
So now compare it to the Kindles.
Yeah, which one? Oops. No, I don't want Kindle Switch. I want Kindle Weight.
Oh, I want to switch. I wish I'd gotten a Switch.
What's the Switch do?
A Nintendo
That's its
Switch.
own
It's a gaming
games.
computer.
Okay.
But I got the PlayStation and the Xbox, but the Switch is more like puzzly game. You know, they have more of those games. Like old
It's
fashioned
7
games.
ounces, right?
Yeah, that's the Kindle 7-inch paperweight. So a quarter pound.
Wait, which one is it? Oh,
I think that was the 7-inch. No, that was the 6-inch.
No, that's a half a pound, almost. 16 ounces.
Yeah. So just under 1/2 pound. But it only has 4 gigs of storage. Mostly designed for connecting to Amazon versus general apps.
Well, if all you want is a Wi-Fi device or something to read PDFs with,
Yeah,
heck,
that's
decent.
fine. Even reading websites on my Kindle is painful because the browser is so awkward. In fact, is it here? I don't even think I've charged my Kindle for a while. I don't even know which Kindle it is. One of the Kindle Fires.
I have the 8 and 10, whatever they are, 8 and 10 inch Fires. Like the 8-inch is like a phone, kind of, as compared to the iPhone weight, and so it's like light enough to hold in one hand and do stuff. Where the 10-inch is like it's too heavy to comfortably hold for a period of time in your hand. I don't know what the weights are, but that's where my distinguishing is. So I use the little one when I want to carry it around, but I want a slightly bigger screen than the iPod. But then I use a big one like for this, so I can see a little better.
Yep. Alrighty, so I guess that does it for tonight.
Great.
We'll close down everything, and we'll see you all next week.
Hey, thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Thanks,
Very much.
Steve.
All right.
I'll hear from you tomorrow morning at 9.
I'll call you around 9 tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Good night.
Saturday at 3.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Buenas noches.
Good night,
Hopefully I
kid.
remember.
See the boardies next week.
I never think of Monday until about 5:30. Oh, Carol, did you see?